But we can't have that footage ever leak. So that's the
I'm
other part
leaking
is
it.
like
I'm leaking it. I'm leaking it. What you talking about?
let's roll.
Yeah, it comes out. There was a party. Yeah, it was during the COVID. Right before. Yep, all of that.
Yeah.
It was the last party before everybody got sick.
Okay, you got it, bro. You're the one that has to be somewhere, not me.
Oh, we just had a whole conversation for 20 minutes. Now she's gonna tell me I'm the one that gotta be somewhere. You hear this? Oh man. All right. Welcome back, folks. We are here at class reunion. Back with Dr. Dia Bryant. I am Dr. Kevin Bryant. We are the Bryants married.
But why are you in my seat?
Well, at this stage, I figured it's opportunity to switch the roles up a little bit and interview you. Uh,
Okay.
just
All
a
right.
little bit about, your learnings over this journey, some of your takeaways that can be given to our audience. And so just excited to have this final conversation of this series because what I imagine is that there will be another series that
Oh,
will happen in the near future. And
the
so
world doesn't need another podcast.
that doesn't need another podcast, but this is one podcast that I don't think exists. And
You're
so
right.
when you think about many of the other podcasts that talk about wealth or sex or fame,
Yeah.
this isn't actually talking about that. This is actually giving the spotlight to young adults.
Yeah.
Um, and so I want to take this opportunity to just talk to you about the vision behind this and how or did it morph as you went from interview, first interview, all the way to now?
Wow, that's a really good question. The vision for this, I think, was born out of just the last 10 years, right? Like engaging with our former students in new ways, having them show up, to watch the kids for a week and a half, or to meet me in DC and watch the kids at the hotel, or to, our 15th wedding anniversary where we had, former student as a part of the 15 for 15. We had the Gen Z brunch where we invited all our former students to our
That was
house and
lit.
had a big brunch. That was lit.
That was lit.
Um, and what I've learned, even through our work around like multi generational leadership and learning how to lead across generations, my relationships where I either have an age gap up or down are some of the most valuable relationships in my life
Mm.
where I have major age gaps, we are able to coexist and learn from each other in ways that you don't always get from your exact peers.
Mm.
And talking to my former students about how they perceived me, how they understood me, and maybe even a memory of what it was like to learn at that school at that time has been eye opening and more than anything, inspiring.
Mm. Based on what you just shared, was there anything that one of the students shared that was like, oh, I didn't know, that was kind of shocking to you?
Uh, I think so. So, in one of the episodes, it's the episode with Jossie Mead. This kid is brilliant. Has always been a brilliant artist from like when he was 4'8" in sixth grade. Like super smart. Came from a beautiful family, also an immigrant Caribbean family. Jossie said, "Yo, Miss, like you yelled at us. Yo, Miss is like standard,
Yeah.
right? Like you yelled at us for 2 days because we were not doing what you asked us to do, and like we were you." He, in so many words, said, and you have to watch the episode to really hear him talk about this. He says that you were disappointed in us. And we thought you were being mean. He was like, but the next day we all got there and we got there on time. And when we walked in, you were playing the song Champion by
Mm.
Kanye West.
Mm.
And I was like, wow, I don't even remember this. Like, I know I used to play a lot of music in my classroom and it was always meant to be inspirational.
Mm.
He was like, and from that day forward, I never got less than an A in math.
Wow.
And he said that was the day that changed how I viewed math and what I understood about what teachers wanted from me.
Oh, wow, that's an amazing
Yeah,
story,
it was
and
good.
it's probably like a core memory
For
for him.
him, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something we don't realize. as we work with small people and people who are not just smaller people, but people who are in the formation of a new set of learning, is that there will be things that they remember that maybe you as instructor, guide, or teacher do not.
Yeah.
Or you don't think much of. But because their minds are so primed for learning, that fertile soil is sort of always there, and they're always planting.
Yeah. It's an amazing story. So hopefully you get to watch that episode because it's an amazing episode. And so you think about some of the core memories from them. Was there a core memory that came up for you as you engaged with some of the kids?
I have so many, particularly with the students that we have on this short series. I have a student from Fordham who was in my class in the fall of 2024, and she shares some very interesting things because although she's about 10 years younger than me, we are at a similar place in life. And if you watch her episodes, she will talk to you about how she's navigating burnout and navigating her own gifts and talents and how she's trying to place those in the world. And that was inspiring for me. I think the other was Alicia's episode. Now, Alicia's has been like my daughter since the day I met her. We don't talk about this on the episode, but I remember when I had her as a student, it was the year that we got engaged. And it was a young school. Everybody was young. Everybody was dating each other. Everybody was at the bars. It was a hot mess. But I remember coming in with this engagement ring, I think after Christmas break, and she was the one who used to walk around the school saying, "The Rock is in the building." And I used to be like, can you stop doing that? It's so weird. And so it took me back to that moment and her saying that, and the fact that I've lost all those rings, and but it was beautiful. It was a memory that I think she and I share.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks, Alicia, for that. Rock is in the building. It is what it is. And so, you talked about one person in particular in this element about burnout. And we know that, or maybe some don't know. Can you talk a little bit about what's been happening with you for the last few years?
You got a lot of personal questions, bro.
And connected to, this topic called burnout. You want to give a little bit of context there?
So to be clear, I have not been burnt out.
Okay.
In the last, I don't think I was even burnt out when I left. I think I was tired.
Got
right?
it.
And tired and burnout, I think, are different. And that type of tired was the product of, sort of having started a school. The school opened in 2013, I think. And then led that school for 4 or 5 years, then go right into a doctoral program with 2 kids, right? While married, living in 2 different cities.
Yeah,
it's the aggregate, right? And then coming back into the Carranza administration here in New York City, working super hard to scale school improvement across all 5 boroughs, doing that work day in, day out with a toddler, a 2-year-old by myself, literally shuffling him to daycare, shuffling myself to the office, then shuffling myself to pick him up. And then COVID hits, right? And now I gotta finish my capstone, which some people say dissertation, but it's a capstone. Had to finish that and continue helping to build good data systems here in the city to make sure that we could account for where students were, where teachers were, where staff was, and where we needed to deploy people. So I was sort of doing 2 things at once. We were also buying a house. Yeah. We were also living in 3 different places, 3 different, essentially, cities. And then I take on a job that I thought would be really focused on policy and really focused on moving things. And all of a sudden, the world falls apart. So now more than ever, policy is important. So I'm reading, I'm writing, I'm thinking, and I got to move quickly.
Yeah.
And I did that for 3 or 4 years, like that work for a number of years. So what happened truly was exhaustion, right? So between, sort of news interviews and writing all the time and reading all the time and tracking the newsreel, I think I had just reached a point of tired that I couldn't. It wasn't a day off or 2 days off. It was actually like I needed some prolonged time away from the work.
That makes a lot of sense, and I don't know if folks are really familiar with that story because we were living apart for a while, and we were traveling back and forth every weekend.
Yeah.
Ton of miles between New York and Boston, Boston and New York, whether it was on a train, plane, bus, driving. Like we were going back and forth, and I remember when I was still a principal at that time when you had of 2 schools when you had exited, and we made that decision, and people thought we were crazy.
Yeah, they absolutely thought
we were
crazy.
We were wild, and like, how could you give up?
You got your kids in 2 different cities. They don't see their mama and daddy every day. Y'all not cooking. Y'all not.
All those things. You're gonna put these kids through stress. They're gonna be stressed out, and all these things. And so I think that's a really great segue into motherhood and teaching. And
you're going deep.
Yeah,
motherhood.
Yeah. We're gonna, you asked me to be on this episode, and so this is what I'm gonna do. And so, thinking about this element of being an educator, we talked in the first episode about math specifically and how that played a key role in the way that we think about structures and outcomes and answers and so on and so forth. And now you've gone through this series of interviews with former students, and we have students of our own that live in our house who are with us every single day. And so can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the influences that maybe being a teacher has had on you as being a parent?
Yeah, I think when I think about motherhood and parenting, I have to go back to my own rearing. I grew up in my father was very eclectic, right? So we grew up in a house where maybe we didn't have all the material things, but intellectually we were always stimulated. My father loved books. And if I mean, like me, you live with me, right? Like, so
books
I now
all over
have
the
a
house.
Kindle, so I don't buy much books anymore. But our house was covered in books. Like you couldn't walk 2 feet without seeing books. And as a parent, I have just focused on having books around. I'm not gonna force the kids to sit and read them you gotta read 20 minutes a day at 2:01. I don't want to do that. I want you to develop the love on your own. And I think that's what I've done with everything they've touched. Is I want you to learn to love math, because math builds muscles in your brain, in your body, the resilience. I mean, even, we think about Corey had the challenging teacher who just kept making her rewrite. And it was frustrating for her because I think it was ego damaging, right? It was like, I spent all my time on this and now it's here. And a lot of the parenting, at least I will say my focus has been like, when can you recognize ego operating in other people and they use their ego as the authority? When you recognize it, just find a way around it, right? Particularly if it's an adult. If you recognize in your own ego, then we need to talk about why you feel threatened.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Like, you feel like you're not in the cool kids no more? You feel like what is driving your frustration? And for me, I think those have been the crux of most of how my kids are like my best friends. They know when I turn on the mama face, but they know, like, you just come talk to me, because I never want them to feel like they need to go Google or ask somebody else. Come to me, right? But I think as students, we've learned that we can't teach them, right? They got tutors. Because it's too frustrating. I don't want to mix, but even you and we don't really mix work and our lives together.
And I think about what you just said, the mommy face, the daddy face coming along too, like how it just shuts everything down. And we created an environment where they do feel comfortable to come to us about so many
things.
Different things.
Too much sometimes.
Yeah, obviously way too much at that point in time. And I think about that as, when we were in our specific roles, right? People would come to us about their life issues.
Oh, yeah.
From teachers, and I remember in the first episode we talked about supporting some teachers and giving them a little gift card for them to buy whatever that was needed. I remember times we've let people hold our cars
Yeah.
to get where they needed to get, and then we would obviously do what was ever
Whatever.
necessary for any of the kids that were
Anything.
in our care. And so I think a lot of that translates and gave us a lot of good practice
Yeah.
for dealing with our own children, and hopefully foreseeing a number of things that they would probably experience within their adolescence. And so I'm just grateful for us to be partners on the same level.
Yeah, I think having both roles and being on the school board in our town, I think I have a good view of the arc of how a child develops, right? That yes, there are formative years. Yes, there are important moments. Yes, there are milestones. But me as mom, I can't helicopter them through all these moments. K to 3, learn how to read. Can you do mental math? And do you know how to be kind?
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah.
6 to 8, choose your friends well. Don't do anything that anyone gave you. Drug, Skittle, candy.
Yeah,
don't
all
take
that.
nothing. If you didn't buy it, don't eat it.
Don't eat it.
8th grade, all right, we're going to high school. Get serious. Get organized. And I'm not doing the organization. If you ain't organized, it's on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think about that once again, make this connection, right? When we were in those rooms, kids had to do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Get organized to make sure that they can get what was necessary that we were delivering
That's right.
to them. And I know I did mine through way of notebook checks, which was, one of the old school requirements. And so there were some things where it was just that were non-negotiables in a sense. And so as you think back, as an educator, what were some non-negotiables that you may have had that during that time you felt were right in that moment, and then now that you reflect back, you're like, maybe that I could have changed that up a little bit.
I mean, there's quite a few, right? And if I'm honest, in this moment, I would say many of the rules that I had were oppressive, and in some ways were born out of the sort of white normative culture that I was raised in as a student, and the same types of skills that got me through as a student, right? The rigidity. I was an incredibly rigid teacher. I was an incredibly rigid leader, which is probably why I'm a very lax parent.
I see
because
that.
it was difficult for me as a young parent of very young children to structure both home and work. And it just felt like way too much structure to be, because me, it's not 90%, I'm giving you 150. So giving 150 at work and at home, that's exhausting.
Yeah.
So I decided I'm gonna raise the kids this way, but at home it's this way. Notebook checks, no, right? But I used to do them, right? And your name had to be in a certain place, and you had to have page numbers, all these silly things that were not about cognition, but were about routine.
Yeah.
And routine is important because that creates discipline, right? I remember just silly rules, and they're the rules I actually press teachers of our kids about now. The one you're late to class, so you take off points. Well, wait a minute. If the points are measuring an academic understanding or a demonstration of knowledge, then how the hell are you taking points? Because I was late.
Yeah.
Those are incongruent. So, little silly stuff like that, uniform infractions, that stuff is silly. Get the kid in the seat, love them down, help them learn, and move on.
Yeah.
But that was my own sort of upbringing, and the thing that I think we were taught as teachers to get kids under control.
Yes.
And as I've seen thousands of schools now in my lifetime, I will say that control factor is not the case in our independent, more affluent schools.
Yeah.
It's about thinking, right? I was at a school a couple months ago where these kids were talking to me about a class they have called Political Scandals. But this is an independent school in Buffalo, New York, with sprawling acres and a whole lot of cash with 8 graduating students in the class. So, it's stuff like that.
Yeah, I think about those punitive measures and that control, particularly when you're a new teacher.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and just like
Don't smile for 30 days. You remember people would tell you stuff
absolutely.
like that?
Don't let the kids know anything personal about
Yeah.
you, so on and so forth. And, I think after a while, those things had to, like those guards had to come down. And it's like, I got to be a human.
Because the
in this space.
generational norms change.
Right.
Like if you think about, we were told, don't share anything private, don't smile. Basically, don't let them get to know you're a human in there, right?
Absolutely.
That you make mistakes too. And now, I think probably we're a tween age, right? Like probably those who are called millennials, we're elder millennials, but sort of the middle of that, that's what they want when they come to
Absolutely.
work. That's what they want in a leader. That's what they want in somebody. So show them everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And to me, it helps you become a better person because then you can like look and say like, oh, I really need to fix that.
Yeah. Or somebody could
That's
say,
not cool.
you really need to fix that, and you could take that feedback
Totally.
and make some level of adjustments where, in those particular areas, it's like, nah, you gonna tell me I'm not fixing it because this is who I am,
right?
and so on and so forth. And I can imagine how difficult that is. And we were able to change so much. One, by learning from peers that were around us, but two, us having regular dialogue and conversations, probably I would say nightly, about the work and teaching or being leaders, so on and so forth. And so one thing that was part of this interview was starting a school. And I remember when this school, so one I'm gonna bring this up again, is that we have a lot of conversations at night, and we just brainstorm and come up with tons of ideas. Some things flourish, some things, we lose interest in. But Vista Academy, we were living in Ridgewood, Queens, and I remember this idea about a school coming together at our dining room table where you typed and typed and typed some more. And I remember us coming up with the phrase spark.
Yeah.
One of my core memories in developing and supporting the development of Vista. Can you talk a little bit about that entrepreneurial spirit in developing a school and how that supports you and guides you now?
Yeah, I think when I came into schools, I felt like there was something at 113 which was the school that I started working at sort of in my formative years as a teacher. There was a je ne sais quoi. There was a thing there that I couldn't codify. There was a love for students. There was a love for Blackness. There was a love for Black culture in America. And it was something that we taught the kids implicitly. Like it was just under the surface, but you could feel it when you walked in. And when I started teaching there, I said to myself, this was like 2006. I was like, I'm going to start a school that is sort of faith-based, but not, and has some of these soft things that I've learned here. And I'm going to bring that to a population that needs it. And let's just see what happens, right? So eventually that would become, I think, what people had eventually called character education, which is problematic language now, but was important at the time. And it was built off of this concept that, like, it didn't matter how talented you were if you had no work ethic. And I still believe that. But I do think that we have to talk about what work ethic is and what consistency is in culturally diverse spaces.
Yep.
But Vista is my third baby. Like I poured my heart into that school. We renovated. We got it off of every state list. It came off of persistently dangerous. It came off persistently failing. And the kids thrived. And not only did they thrive then, they are still thriving. And the school is still doing well. And I personally was never meant to be a principal.
Say more. What do you mean?
I think that I am an entrepreneur, and I think that that is the blessing that my father gave me. I'm not meant to be a maintenance leader. I can start the thing and get out the way.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's more of my style. I don't need to be there monitoring it every day, paying attention. But while it's a baby, while it's a seed, I'm good at that. Um, but that place is special. That community is special. East New York, Brooklyn. The lessons I learned there were very special around branding and marketing and politics and understanding how to move power and political capital and so much that I learned there. It really was, and about myself, like all the things I needed to change.
Yeah.
The naivete and how that naivete drove me. Like that is what drove me. I wasn't scared of anything.
Yeah.
And, now here we are.
Yeah. And I think about that naivete and being a principal or leader of a school building or leader in general, and the lack of fear in some instances, particularly when you're young or younger.
Or
I don't
you've
know.
never done it before.
Or you've never done it before. And I just remember some of the decisions I made. I would never do. Never. I'll be on the front page of somebody's newspaper.
Or like it was just wild. Like the day I was like, we're gonna take the whole school to see Selma. Right?
Like,
and we
what we doing?
literally loaded like 500 kids onto a bus and went to the movie theater.
Yeah, and so when you think about that level of, one, awareness in blackness, and then two, trying to make that level of awareness go throughout a school community, you create something really, really special. And so talk to me a little bit about the kids there, right? Like you got these babies, you built from 1 year all the way up to a graduating year. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, when you say kids that were there, it's sort of the kids. So it was a phase in, phase out, meaning one school was closing while the other school was opening. And the school that was closing, I, at Vista, had to take whatever would have been in that closing grade. So in our first year, when we opened as sixth graders, I think we took about 40 students from the former school. And I think those were the students that I was most nervous about because they were students that we didn't directly recruit. They were sort of just by default pushed upstairs, if that makes sense.
And it stayed in the same school building. Yeah.
That was hard. But they're winning, right? Like, I get pictures of these kids, like, working in fashion, working at Target, like, manager here, designing this clothing lines, all kinds of things. Those kids are that founding class is very special to me. And I think I can literally name them. Jamie.
Oh, I had Jamie. Yeah.
Jamie was my baby from day one. And, there was Frank. And
I had Frank
there
too.
was Kevin.
Yep.
And
I had Kevin too.
They were so important that I made sure that they came to high school with you. Those students were magical, and they were, I think other people would say diamonds in the rough, and I hate that phrase because a diamond is a diamond, whether it's whether it's in the rough or not. But those kids are beautiful. They just needed somebody to give a chance to like bring some hope. And I used to say, "Yo, I'm a hope dealer." And Curtis at the time was like, "Sis, no." But like, but like it was literally like serving up hope on a platter every day for those kids.
Yeah, and I think that's the powerful part about this particular series is that you're starting to see or can see, you know, the fruits of that labor of not just you providing hope to the students, but like all the faculty being able to provide hope to these students, not just in Vista, but also you started in 113 and being able to see that in that space where you were able to learn so much and then bridge the gap over to you starting your own establishment there at Vista. I didn't want to cut you off, but you were
No.
Okay. And so thinking about that, we made this transition. We talked very, very briefly about going to one of the HUs, which is Harvard. And there was a ton of learning that happened there. And so the folks are catching on. I'm trying to go through this trajectory of Dr. Bryant's educational career and making that tie into like the powerfulness of this one series. And so we think about class reunion. Class happened in so many different spaces outside of her being a student coming out of Michigan. And so Harvard, you're a student again, right? Like you are no longer leading. you are now sitting into the space of a student. And so what was that like to be at the forefront of, or the face of, an establishment, and then now moving back into this learning space and being a student at one of the most
was
prestigious
everything.
schools in America?
It was everything. Like, it was everything.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when you work a high-powered job, you begin to understand the value of time. So if you can quit that job and go sit on a world-class campus that has access to every library in the world and all these archive things, that is every nerd's dream.
Yeah.
And so every moment at Harvard when I was learning was magical. Of course, there's the things that come with an Ivy League.
Absolutely.
That is mostly white, that is in Boston, that is in Cambridge, the history of that town and that place, 1619, all the things. But to raise my children on that campus and to normalize for them, having soda or ice cream at a lecture with Cornel West, and that these people were normalized,
accessible
for not just them, but for me too, right? Because I think in the education space we have this idea about like the education celebrities, right? And so I was obsessed with Liz City and the Dick Elmores and like all of the people who we were reading their texts. But when you meet them and Liz says, "Call me Liz," like I'm like, wait, I don't call you Dr. City. She's like, Dia, nobody does that here, right? That is beauty. And the most amazing part about it is that at Harvard, we all call each other colleagues. There's no teacher, there's no student. And I hope that with this podcast, we can see that there is no teacher and there is no student. Which is why when my kids are like, "Oh, Miss Vineyard," I'm like, "Please call me Dia." Even my doctoral students, they call me Dr. Dia. And I'm like, you don't have to say that. You just call me Dia, because I want you to not have any barrier in access to me and what I have, and I don't want to have a barrier between me and you at all.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think it's a phenomenal experience, and I think that breaking down hierarchy was really powerful. And I think one of the key pieces with that was like we probably weren't even thinking about hierarchy when we were in those roles. Like we were just doing the job and doing the work during that time.
And it was before, it was before we started using the word equity. It was before we started with all the nomenclature around what do we call this group of students versus this group of students. It was literally like, we are doing this work because the kids on 300 at 300 at Delphi and 750 Linwood actually need help.
Yeah.
And I don't care what color they are. I don't care what language they speak. I don't care where their family come from. I'm out here because my kids need to be seen.
Yeah.
And that's how I went to work every single day.
Yeah. And so you think about that, going to work every single day and having that level of passion. This is what I experienced literally every single day through every
About different
topics all over the place. Which brings us to here now, right? Like we have this podcast, a passion project that you have, ventured into the podcast world. And we say
I'm not
sometimes,
venturing into the podcast world. The world does not need another podcast.
We always say the world doesn't need
The world does need to know about relationships between teachers and students.
There we go. So it needs to know about relationships. So what are we trying to say, that there may be a potential for a second series?
I think you are saying that. Let's see what the people want.
Yeah, so people, as you are engaging inside of these different podcasts, leave your comments. Let Dr. Dia know all the things that are taking place and that you want to see this podcast series continue. There's so many other folks that she's had the opportunity to engage.
I have some really cool friends.
Yeah, we just literally just like hit the iceberg of some of the impact that she has had on various communities, not just in New York City, but across the world, right?
Yeah, but that's not important. We're talking about the kids.
We are talking about the kids, right? It's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you've impacted kids across
I have.
Across the
I
globe,
feel
right?
Like when I tell you, like, like my background and like how I came to service, and I only know post my father's death that like he was actually doing like marches and missions and all kinds of stuff, and like now I understand where my heart came from, like where my like I'm just here to serve. I don't take the picture of me.
Yeah.
You know,
Everybody
and
else.
I know that that's not a good thing in this day and age where people want to see what you're doing. They want to know what you're up to. It's just, it's a part of my leadership that I'm growing, right? And I'm becoming more courageous in.
It's beautiful. And so as we think about closing out this final episode here, is there anything that you want folks to just take away with? What's a one-liner, two-liner, paragraph that you want folks to take away with as they continue to reflect on this particular podcast?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, you know, the DJS saying that I live by. Make friends before you need them. Treating everybody as if they are a new building block in your life. It's as if you were going around collecting Legos, and these Legos would eventually build who you are. Never miss an opportunity to make a friend, to make someone feel good, to understand what you and the other person can offer one another, not transactionally, but relationally. And I can't stress enough the role and importance of relationships. Relationships are the secret sauce to everything. And it's not about being strategic about who you have relationships with. It's about ensuring that those relationships matter.
Yeah.
Right? To both people or to the groups, beyond what you can do for one another.
Yeah.
So that
Very,
would
very
be my
powerful.
thought. Make friends before you need them.
Make friends before you need them. We want to thank you.
Thank you.
For engaging in this.
Thank you for making space for me to do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Doing phenomenal work up to this part. Like I said, there's going to be a second series. I'm going to push for this second series, but just truly grateful for your brilliance,
Thank you.
your creativity, your love for education and all those that you engage with. And so look forward to our next conversation and our next venture.
All right.
And so thank you again, Dr. Dia Bryant. And to that, wish you all the best.